I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. All I know is that I'm going over there. And when I get over there, yeah, try to get things going. I'm too excited. I get so excited that it's over. And we ain't even done shit yet. How did you learn about sex? I learned into I probably learned into one of the most toxic ways you could. Catching, I say, catching your, like going down to get ice cream in the middle of the night and seeing your daddy watch soft porn and shit on on HBO, Showtime and shit like that. Coming across your daddy's porn stash. And it wasn't nothing taught. It's just that, oh shit, this is sex. This is what this is. So, and what else, man? Movies, a lot of soft porn, movies and shit like that. And just the idea of it, like we're talking about like in the beginning or whatever. But, yeah, I'm just thinking back, and I had older, older cousins. You know what I'm saying? I love my big bro. But like whatever he said, again, you look up to somebody, whatever they tell you, you think it's like the greatest thing ever. It's like, oh man, I can't wait till I get to do that type thing. So I'm hearing my older cousin, who was like was practically a big brother to me, and I love you, Rich. And then I have my uncle as well. God rest his soul, my Uncle Kevin. And then sit there, you just guy talk, that locker room, like locker room talk or whatever, just hearing them talk about like sex and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm looking for that validation, as a man, you want to look for the validation of like your fellow men and all that stuff. And being a little boy, I look up to these guys. These guys they're gods in my eyes, you know what I mean? As far as like my uncle, and my older cousin. So it's like, man, they're talking about this like it's, they're just getting this and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, when is it gonna be my turn to do so? And so another incident that stands out in my mind that kind of really fucked me up, I'll be honest with you. I think I look at things that I consider to be trauma. I went to go see How to Be a Player, right? With my friend Dante Blunt, right? And with him and his mom and his stepdad or mom's boyfriend, whatever it was. Shout out to Dante. But we're young. We're like probably 10, 11 years old and shit like that. But when we went to go see How to Be a Player, I was fascinated by Bill Bellamy's character. Now, mind you, I don't think this is the way to go about doing it, but I'm just giving you like the mindset from when, being that age. And so I'm looking at it and I saw this guy, this character, and he was just talking to so many girls, right? And mind you, it's like that little kid thing, the influence and all that validation shit. It's like, oh man, I'd be cool if I, got a girlfriend for one, if I had sex, if I kissed a girl. All these things are going through your mind as a young man. And there's no real lessons to it. You're just picking up shit. Like, you're mirroring whatever's going on around you. So you got to be mindful of what's around you. And but just throughout the movie, it was just so many different ones. It was races, like the different races and all that stuff. So, but I mean, I always kept that in mind. But at that point in time, I didn't think that any other race, like, back then, this is 97, right? 96, 97 time frame. So, I mean, growing up in Suffolk, everything is like black and white. There weren't many, I didn't see many Latin girls. I didn't see many Asian girls. But everything was like black and white, and predominantly, you know, you dealt with, you know, your own, you know, dealing with your own and shit like that. And at that point, I didn't even realize that women outside of black, you know, outside the black community, even thought it was attractive, because, you know, it's like a lot of things where, you know, I don't want to shame my family type shit, you know what I mean? And the same thing for us in the black community too, you know what I mean? But after a while, you start looking at high school. I saw a lot, you know, as far as the interracial dating, lesbians, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really see many of like gay men in relationships that I can remember. I mean, we had gay men, you know, we had gay boys in our school or whatnot, but I didn't necessarily see that. I'm getting off on a tangent again. Let me get back to the focus of the subject. Like I said, I get on a tangent sometimes, man. Just one thing leads to another. I ramble like a motherfucker. But you know, learning about sex, again, I learned just by sheer curiosity. And I would try to, when I was young in middle school and stuff like that, I would do shit like trying to lure little girls back to the house so that I could kiss them and shit like that. But I didn't really have any set plan. All I knew, I mean, I didn't have a calculated strategy. I was like, I want to kiss her, how we do it type thing. And I got the influence from my peers. They were, again, what they were saying. And it's like, you know, that peer pressure. And then to grow up and as a teenager and still haven't really had these conversations like you probably should have, like properly about sex and all that stuff. But you just learn as you go along type thing. So by the time you're in high school, if you were active the way some of us were, again, everything is learned with practice. And I wasn't having enough practice. So there's a lot of preemie days where, you know, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, pretty much. You just don't know what the fuck you're doing. All you know is that this is what you're supposed to do as a boy, becoming a man type bullshit, you know what I'm saying? But I really learned from just, I want to say probably being in a steady relationship. And that came along when I was about 18. Yeah, about 18. But there was still never like, hey, you know, when you're with a girl, you should do this or, you know, stuff like that. I just picked up as I grew along, you know. Like I said, I lost my virginity at 15 in the back of Western Branch bowling alley. I think I've talked about this before on the show. But also, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. At least I didn't. Shit, she might have, but I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. All I know is I wasn't backing the fuck down. You know what I mean? The ego was there. It was like, nah, I'll figure it out or whatever. But you know, looking back, I saw I play my memories of my life like movies. I have photographic memory and shit. So to look back at a lot of things and realize, like, you know, the things that you did were probably not the best for you, you know what I'm saying? But again, is that looking for validation, seeking something that you already had inside, love, you know what I mean? But I'll say that where I really started, I'll say, becoming, I'll say, knowing what I'm doing. Yeah, but knowing what I'm doing with sex became like the early 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where you really start to find your groove and stuff like that. You're having sex more. Anything that you do more, you get better at it. That's why you have to do it. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. So in the beginning, when you're a preemie and you're nutting before a minute and or nutting before it even gets started, American Pie shit, you gotta stay with it. You don't worry about getting laughed at. It's funny as shit to think about it. And then come up with bullshit ass stories. I'll never forget one time. Obviously I won't list the young lady's name. You know, not here to really defend herself. But we're young. I think she's like, I'm in this role. I think I was a senior. She was a sophomore or something like that. And you know, her parents went to this concert, and she was babysitting, and these kids were like somewhere else in the room. and we had like just a little window. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. All I know is that I'm going over there. And when I get over there, yeah, try to get things going. I'm too excited. I get so excited that it's over. And we ain't even done shit yet. And I make up this bullshit like, you know, I gotta run up to the job or something. It was something like that, or you know, like we probably shouldn't be doing this. Like I don't know if she knew. I don't know. She probably didn't know. But like I said, I look at those early days and just like, what the fuck were you doing, bro? Like, why? What are you doing, for one? But I can honestly say, like, I never had like a lesson about sex. I just kind of, you know, I learned, like I said, I learned from just experience. And like eating pussy. Eating pussy started like, what was I, 15, 16, something like that. I think it was summer of 11th grade. And it's just interesting. Again, just doing these things because you heard people talk about doing these things. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the more you do it, the better. Like I said, the better you get at it. And I'm not advocating for any kid, any teenager to be having sex by any means. So, you know, if you happen to come across this thing, but like, it was just the exposure and the environment that, you know, we grew up in. Not having that structure, like being in, like staying in, like your parents putting you in sports, putting you in, or, you know, organizations that keep you from getting into the land of validation. And the land of validation is the drugs, the alcohol, the sex, you know what I'm saying? Maybe the crime, gangs, any of that shit that where you would go to for validation and stuff like that. But, you know, just, I say, like, what I've learned about sex, man, is just, you know, everything is mental. Everything is mental. When you're young, you're trying to just learn. You just want to last long. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even thinking about the whole process. When I first started out, I always kept in mind, because I kept hearing girls saying that, oh, you know, he came before me. So I always wanted to please when it came to that. Like, you know, when I first started out, I'm not even thinking about the process right now. All I know is that she got to come before I do. That's what the objective was. And then as I got older, I started to recognize connection and chemistry and how that heightened everything. And then the confidence that came with that, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's, like I said, it's amazing what the experience can teach you when it comes to sex, or really just anything, you know, just going through shit, being able to fuck up on things and learn from your fuck ups and move forward. But yeah, I learned about sex, like I said, I learned about sex mainly through experience. I had a talk with my dad one time about it, but it wasn't, you know, the educated like explanation of it. It was more like, you fucking that type of thing. But you know, it's and talking with older cousins about certain things, and then them you getting dared, or friends and shit like that. You hear them like, oh man, you know, I was doing this with whoever. It's like, oh man, I'm the only one not doing this. So I guess I gotta do this to be cool. It's like a typical Family Matters Full House episode about sex and shit. TGIF. But you know what I'm saying? It's amazing when you get older and you recognize like the importance of it and the impact that it has. You know what I mean? And what it takes to like to actually do it. You know, not being a selfish lover. You know what I mean? Understand it's like a dance. It truly is. It truly is. Sex is like a dance. And if you don't know how to dance, she's not going to want to dance with you. That's really what it is. So learning, again, being able to learn on the fly, study your dance partner very much. Learn what, learn what they're into. Learn what gets them going. And, you know, it's not just the physical, it's the mental, the emotional, all that, you know, plays a toll with it. So I mean, all in all, these are pretty much like how I learned about sex. And yeah, good question. What advice would you give to a young boy on dating? I'm just gonna say this is like teenager shit. I would tell him, don't fucking date now. All right, just don't do it. Cause once you open Pandora's box, that's your ass, man. I would tell you to work on yourself, build yourself up. And by that, I mean build your character. As a young boy becoming a man, learn about masculinity, learn about what healthy relationships are, learn about how to communicate, learn about what else? How to dress, for that matter, knowing colors and those different things. Appearance matters. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it could be, okay, superficial and all that stuff. But yeah, fashion matters. You know what I'm saying? Like you really do. Like when you go to a car, you go to a car dealership. You're not looking at the car that's looking, busted windows and fucked up. You're looking at the shiny one that looks well together. So you want to have yourself together. You want to be able to talk. You want to be able to build confidence, for one. That's very, very big, is to learn how to build confidence. Because I will tell you that I lacked confidence when it comes to like serious relationships, and it's all rooted in like trauma and things of that nature, not feeling like you were good enough, and you know what I'm saying, like you're a scarcity mindset. You're afraid to lose this because this is it, so you act off of nerves, and you don't really know what to say to this individual, or you put shit on pedestals. But when you recognize that you are just as valuable as that individual that you're in a relationship with, and you focus on that, you move so much better. And I'll say that to a young boy, you know what I mean? Like, again, you got girls, man, like girls reaching their prime, as far as like looks and popularity and all that stuff. You're thinking about maybe 15 till maybe about 25, they're at an age where, all this attention and things like that, and things of that is happening. They're going out to clubs, they're partying, and their bodies develop faster than ours, so they get attention from the older guys before we even get in the game. But to a young man, I say, focus on you, bro. Like, build yourself up. Learn how to build wealth. That relationship shit will come, when the time is right. And if you've done the work on yourself, by the time a woman starts, coming towards you, you'll know how to manage the storm. As a man dealing with an emotional creature that is a woman, and not take things personal when these things happen. You know what I mean? You have to know how to weather that storm. And I wish that I knew this shit as a younger kid, because of, I didn't respond those ways. There's a lot of times where I responded very emotionally to a woman. And now we got two women in a damn relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like two people reacting emotionally. Like, it's all right for her to do that, because your job is to calm the storm. Now, I'm not telling you to stay with a woman that just constantly wants to bicker and fight all the time. No, that's toxic as fuck. Like, don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Don't even a woman that wants to constantly argue, she's avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. That's what I would tell to a young boy about dating growing up. You know what I'm saying? Because the objective is to have peace, man. You're going to have your disagreements and and stuff like that. But all in all, we just want to be heard and loved. That's it. You know, it doesn't matter. You just, everybody walking on this earth just wants to be heard and loved. And when you don't feel heard and loved, you resort back to what we knew as kids. Tantrums get what I want. So if you're with an individual and they don't get what they want, they throw tantrums just like we did as children. So when you see that, you know that there's some growing that needs to be done. But that's something you're not even able to fix. This young man I'm talking to, like if you're in a relationship with a girl, a teenager or whatever, and she's throwing a tantrum because she doesn't get what she wants, she's still in the child phase. And if you, as a young man, don't get what you want from a woman and you start throwing a tantrum, yeah, you got some growing to do as well. It's about maturing. And but like I said, all in all, dating advice for a young man, focus on yourself. Work on building you up, build your wealth. Learn this. Boundaries. Healthy fucking boundaries, please. You have to set boundaries. Learn how to say no. Do not feel bad for saying no. You know what I mean? You're not responsible for anybody's happiness. Everybody that's walking this earth is responsible for their happiness. If an individual doesn't want to do something, respect that. That's it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to force shit in this life at all. You know, like, don't allow somebody to make you feel guilty. That's manipulation because you didn't give them what they want. That goes for both young boys and young girls. Learn how to, like I said, learn how to communicate, learn how to talk, learn how to be open, learn how to express your feelings in a masculine way. You know what I mean? Like, be able to talk about it, but you don't have to get so emotional about it. You know, if that makes sense. Because as a young boy, it is imperative, you know, for us to learn how to be masculine, hold our frame, and carry ourselves a certain way. I could tell you that I myself, you know, we mirror whatever we see. So I spent a lot of time with my mother growing up. And naturally, when you spend more time with your mother, you're going to mirror their behavior. So if you have like sons, right? And they hang around their mother like all the time. They don't really spend time with any males or masculine men. Because again, you might have the beta males or whatever that tend to be very the feminine and all that stuff. And they pick up those behaviors. They're going to carry that into their relationships. But if you learn how to be around like masculine, strong masculine male role models, you pick up those traits, and then you still have that same balance from your mother. So now you're versatile to where you can understand the sensitivity of a woman, the emotions of a woman, but still holding your masculine frame. That will then help you, because that, I believe, and it's just my perspective, I believe that is what ultimately a woman wants in a relationship with a man, is to have that somebody that actually is listening, that makes them feel heard and makes them feel loved, just as much as we want to feel heard and loved. That's the same thing too, ladies. We want to feel we want to feel heard and loved too. Valued, keyword, value. You know what I mean? We want to feel valued. So when, as like I said, as a young boy, do not date. I don't date until you build wealth. That's how I see it. Just read books and watch clips on relationships. Don't get caught up in video gaming so much. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why we love video games so much, again, I grew up playing a lot of games, it's just a competition. It's a test of will against another man. And that's just a natural thing of a man. I know some women are like, oh, he plays a video game all day. It is a test of men. You know what I mean? You're competing against another guy. That's practically what masculinity, that's a part of masculinity, is to, test yourself against other men. And that's what builds you up. That's what creates things, but that's why you have first place winners and second place winners and third place. But in our generation, we want to give everybody a fucking trophy. We give 8th place ribbons like Gaylord Fokker, meet the Fokkers. But we need to be able to push ourselves. especially us men. And I'm not saying that women don't need to push themselves, but I'm speaking directly to these young boys that, that may be starting off dating. You want to be in a position, man, where you're bettering yourself. You're pushing yourself to be better. You don't have, don't get me wrong. Love yourself unconditionally. You're fine just as you are, but set goals. You want to have goals. And ultimately you do all these things, the dating stuff will come as you learn how to be in relationships and all that stuff. But, a few gems right there from mistakes I've made as a man and things I've learned becoming a man and still learning that I would pass on to young boys becoming men may want to venture into dating. So hopefully that helps, but that's what I got. What are some lessons life has taught you thus far? There's just so many, right? And let me preface my comments that as I give these life lessons, I'm going to say exactly where I got them from so that you guys can research it yourself. Just from experience, we're not attached to live life with no attachments. Yeah, that's one. Live life with no attachments, in a sense, like attached to things, because when you do that, you think you put it as a part of your identity. And especially like when you're in a relationship with somebody, when you feel like we are attached to that person, we're not able to pull ourselves from leaving them, even if we're being disrespected. So that's just something where, like, when you feel like that person is you, that person is, like a part of you. Those are toxic statements to me, because we're sharing an experience. Like, you get to be you, I get to be me. It's our relationship. And yes, when you get married, you become one. At the same time, it's not the identity though, because I've seen people stay in marriages. I've never been married before, by the way. I've seen people stay in marriages, relationships, and take on some volatile things that was definitely not good for their mental health, and ultimately have lost their way because of it. I was one of those individuals who, I stayed in a lot of relationships that were very volatile and toxic, and that was on me. It's choices, accountability. That's another lesson too. Accountability, being able to take accountability for your life and not blaming others. You know what I'm saying? That's just what a child does. A child blames others for their life because their parents are responsible for them. But when you are an adult, you take accountability for said actions regardless of what's going on. What else? What other life lessons? Your parents are merely just older children still trying to figure this shit out too. And that is a little bit of Jordan Peterson when he talked about you look at your parents as gods. But when you look at your parents when you're a kid, you think that everything they do that's law. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's everything. So when things don't go as you intended, and you know what I'm saying, it's almost like you feel like your heart gets broken or something like that, but these illusions are being removed is what's really going on. And you understand that, extend the grace to everyone. Even me being a parent myself and making my own mistakes of things I didn't even realize I was doing. To have that and see yourself in that moment and be like, damn, you know what? I really could have done a lot better with that. But you don't live in the past. And I lived in the past for a very long time over decisions that I could have, better decisions I could have made. And it haunted me for a while, and that was the ego. And that is another thing, the power of the power of the ego. And this information comes from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. Like, the ego is when you want more when you believe you're more, the ego always believes it's more than, it wants more than what it is, or less than, or feels like it's less than what it is. You know, with the ego, you're either on top of the world or the world's on top of you. And but what we have to learn is to live from that of the soul. The soul just is. That's it. You know what I'm saying? It just understands, like, you being a human being, nothing more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of us get caught up, oh, I'm the best to ever do this and all this shit. It's all ego talking. Yeah, that might be true. That you perform, you put a lot of effort into things. You know what I'm saying? But now you put a cap on yourself, because anything less than that performance that you've given yourself, that attachment to, you're gonna feel bad about yourself. When you're still giving, you're still giving a great, I would say, a great enough effort, but you just didn't give the same effort as you once did before. You can get caught up in that and you can lose yourself. You know, again, holding on to attachments, but ego, learn to manage the ego. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't ever lose your ego. Like, there's always going to be a way of, the ego is the person that you think you are. You know what I mean? That's really what it boils down to, the person that you think you are. So when anything outside of, like, so let's say somebody says you believe like you're like a great father or some shit like that, and anything outside of that, somebody says that, oh, you know, you're a deadbeat dad or something like that. If you believe what's being said, you're going to respond in a defensive way, and because the ego will defend itself, and that's how you know it's the ego, because ego feels the need to defend itself, and the soul just knows that it is, you know. So those are, I would say, that life lesson. What else? Like, don't, I say before, I know I kind of mentioned before, but don't put anybody on a pedestal. That's just life experience. Truly. Don't say, you can value somebody without having to put them so highly above you. Like, because you are valuable yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, a person is not so much ahead of you. That's any of us walking on this earth. Like, you know, like, again, we grew up as kids, like, looking at superheroes or movie actors and actresses, entertainers, singers, pretty much entertainers all together. And it's like, we see them, you don't know what to do. Even I ain't gonna lie to you. If Michael Jackson was still here to this damn day, and I met him, I probably faint like one of them Bahrain niggas and shit like that in the fucking concert. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I don't even really know where that fucking feeling comes from, you know. But it's crazy how shit works like that, you know, when you're you know, when you put this person on such a pedestal that you don't know how to be yourself around them. It's like almost like you feel like you're not worthy or some shit like that. And I just learned to not do so, and to just appreciate that person for who they are, whoever that is that you're around. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you fuck with them, if you value them, appreciate them. Like, let them know that too. Let people know how much you appreciate them. That's another thing. That can be taught, that can be learned in talking to people, is like learning appreciation. For that, I had to learn how to value people, because again, growing up and not being, you know, and being allowed to be a certain way as a spoiled kid. You know, again, I'm sure you guys been in stores or got family members, you've seen spoiled kids, and they do some shit and you just be like, so damn spoiled, shit like that. But when you grow up and your illusions get removed when it's time to grow up and you become a man, you're able to sit back and look at a lot of things that you did and what you can learn from it. And one thing I can say that I pride myself on doing these days is letting those know how much I value them, even if I don't talk to them for a long time. If I haven't talked to them in a couple weeks, months, even some years, whenever we do talk, I want them to know how much they are valued and appreciated. And because we got our own lives, man. So like, if some people are not able to get to you, they're not responsible for you. That's another lesson in life. No one is responsible for your happiness but you. So if people are doing stuff, they get busy with their own lives. You work on yours. You know what I'm saying? It's not for people to just sit around and just wait hand and foot on you. That's some people pleasing shit. You know what I mean? But you got to focus on you. You do what is best for, you got to do what's best for you. So keep that focus. And I know that the more you practice working on yourself, the easier that it gets. If you're used to taking care of people like I was, you know what I'm saying? Like constantly being there for everybody else as a means to try to manage the anxiety or feeling like you're not going to be abandoned or no one's going to leave you type thing, it eats at you. And you create an actor. You create an actor, this person that you become that, you're afraid to rock the boat. You're afraid that somebody's going to leave you. And you start to people please. And that's one lesson. Another life lesson to pass on is that you don't have to please anybody but yourself. Like you don't need anybody else's validation but your own. And for those that fuck with you and your tribe, but you know what I'm saying, that appreciate you for you, the unconditional love, those are the ones that matter. Now, as for those other people that judge you and feel like, oh, you should do this, to be a part of us type thing, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like you should do whatever you do with your life, man. You should just be able to sit with it, right? You don't feel like you have to do something just to fit in, but just because the simple fact that you like it. And yeah, I try to incorporate that a lot more in my life right now. Not perfect by any means. Yeah, and that's another thing. I read this one time on like a meme or some shit on Facebook. It was the first part of life. The second part of life is unlearning everything you learned in the first part of life. So like when you get to about 30, 35, I'll say about 35, 30 range, you start to, if you're focused, if you start to look at yourself and actually study yourself, you start to learn from what was done before. And you try to unlearn a lot of the unhealthy shit that was taught for people that didn't know how to love themselves. You know what I'm saying? And once you learn how to love yourself, you create healthy boundaries. And that you stop and you understand that anger is a choice response. And happiness must be chosen daily. What other things, you know what I'm saying? Like, I saw it yesterday, another thing about like the first part of life and the second part of life. The first part of life is learning how to be an adult. The second part of life is learning how to be a child. You know what I mean? So it's like learning to appreciate things, learning to not see color, learning to not, live with so many fears. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to live with no cap, bro. Like live, because somebody else's limit. Don't let anybody project their limitations onto you, type thing. Take care of your mental health. Mental health it's okay. Doesn't make you weak, especially men. You know what I'm saying? Also, men, for us to go to go get your health checked out. Go to the doctor, those life lessons, because you'd be surprised. You could save a life. You save your own life. You know what I'm saying? Like you realize things are going on with you. That's I'm talking to myself here, and even with that, going to the doctor and then also just getting involved with like mental health. But forgive, like learn to forgive fast. As hard as it may be, because you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you. You're doing it so you can heal. And the more you reveal your story, the more you heal and you own it. Because once you own your story, there's nothing anybody can say to you. And that's just a little bit of the life lessons. I could talk for days about life lessons and things that I've learned, but I feel like I've shared enough. I feel like I shared enough for this particular question, but it's a great question, by the way. And I hope that people are able to learn from those life lessons as well. And I'm sure they have more life lessons to pass on. So share those with people that you actually value. Like if you see them trying to grow, share that with your fellow man, your fellow woman, and in hopes that we can heal and try to be at peace, yo. Like, that's another thing. This life is taught. If I've learned anything from this life, do not compromise your peace for no one. I don't give a fuck who it is, how much she say she love you, how much he say he love you, whatever. Do not compromise your peace. And I mean that from family, friends, I mean, at work, you know, you pretty much, I mean, you don't want to stay in a toxic ass job, but you know you're going to deal with some shit on the job that you don't really care too much for. But as for family, friends, all of that, don't compromise your peace. And yeah, that's it. Don't compromise your peace.